Thunder Lord? As the words escaped the mouth of the seventh king, everyone present shuddered, their eyes widening in astonishment as they gazed into the distance. There, a world of thunder roared into existence, and amidst the raging lightning, a muscular figure leapt forward, traversing 10,000 feet in a single bound. Lin Dong was also shaken as he looked at the figure riding the thunder. Could this be the Thunder Lord, one of the 8 ancient lords that the Flame Lord had mentioned? The figure moved with incredible speed. When the rumbling thunder echoed, he was still at the horizon's edge, but as the sound faded, a flash of lightning coalesced in the sky, and the figure suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. Now, Lin Dong and the others could see him clearly. The newcomer was tall and sturdy, appearing to be middle-aged, with short silver hair and rugged features. Beneath his thick brows were a pair of thunderous eyes, cold and fierce. His bare arms bore a thunder totem, exuding an ancient and violent energy that made the very heavens tremble. Boom! Thunder surged even more intensely across the sky. His silver eyes fixed on the members of the seventh king, an indescribable pressure radiating outward. I've been searching the world for you. I didn't expect you to dare show your face. His gaze bore down on the seventh king, his deep voice resonating like thunder, causing the very air to vibrate. Thunder Lord, you are truly relentless. The seventh king's face darkened as he gritted his teeth. Is there anything left for us to say? The Thunder Lord responded coldly, his expression ever stern and unyielding. Now that I've found you, tell me, where are the rest hiding, especially that wretch from the Heavenly King Hall? The Thunder Lord's gaze was locked onto the seventh king, his voice low. TCH, you still love to boast, just like before. Do you think you alone can challenge our demon prison? If that were the case, you wouldn't have been forced into deep slumber back then. The seventh king sneered. At the very least, you are not qualified to speak to me in this manner. The Thunder Lord's eyes flashed with a bolt of lightning, and he clenched his fist. Thunder surged into his palm, forming 6 small lightning spheres, each no larger than a fist. Electricity crackled violently across the spheres, emanating a devastating aura. Swish! Without hesitation, he swung his hand, and the 6 lightning spheres vanished. The next instant, they erupted from the space behind the 6 members of the seventh king. The seventh king quickly turned, unleashing a torrent of demonic energy. His fist, encased in the demon emperor armor, struck fiercely at one of the lightning spheres. Bang! Lightning exploded violently, and a muffled groan escaped the seventh king's lips as he was blasted back several hundred feet. His arm, now scorched black, would have been destroyed had it not been for the protective armor. Ah! The seventh king barely managed to withstand the attack, but the other 5 alien demon kings were not so fortunate. As the lightning spheres approached, the demonic energy protecting their bodies shattered almost instantly. The violent power of the thunder exploded, and the 5 of them let out blood-curdling screams as their bodies disintegrated into nothing under the fierce lightning. In just a few breaths, 5 reincarnation powerhouses were wiped out by the Thunder Lord's hand. The sight left Lin Dong slightly stunned, while the 2 Grand Elders of the Dark Hall were even more shocked, their entire bodies trembling. Such overwhelming strength left them with no courage to resist. You! The seventh king's eyes blazed with fury as he saw the 5 alien demon kings killed in an instant. His killing intent surged wildly. Now, will you tell me where the others are hiding? Especially that wretch from the Heavenly King Hall. Does he still refuse to show his face after thousands of years? The Thunder Lord's gaze was as calm as ever, without a hint of emotion. The Heavenly King Hall? The seventh king's eyes flashed with mockery. Thunder Lord, you nearly died by his hand back then, and yet you still dare to seek him out? I think you'd better bring out the Ice Lord instead. So, you still refuse to talk? The Thunder Lord shook his head slightly, and the killing intent in his thunderous eyes intensified. He took a step forward. As he moved, the seventh king's pupils contracted. A surge of demonic energy exploded around him, and he retreated like a bolt of black lightning. Your speed is too slow. Before he could move far, the space behind him tore apart, and the Thunder Lord appeared like a ghost. His fingers clenched tightly, lightning dancing wildly along his arm, and he delivered a powerful punch to the Seventh King's back. Lightning burst forth as the figure of the Seventh King transformed into a streak of black light, crashing downward and smashing an entire mountain into rubble. The Thunder Lord raised 2 fingers, curving them slightly, and pointed mid-air, unleashing a terrifying bolt of lightning that tore into the collapsed mountain, reducing it to ashes. A shadow within barely had time to react before the blast struck it squarely, forcing a mouthful of black blood to spurt out as its body carved a deep, 1,000-foot mark into the ground below. This Seventh King, who had earlier driven Lin Dong to a desperate struggle, now faced utter defeat at the hands of the Thunder Lord. The Seventh King struggled to rise from the ground, his expression twisted with venom as he glared at the Thunder Lord. His Demon Emperor armor bore numerous dents, his power only at the level of one who had endured 2 reincarnation tribulations, whereas the Thunder Lord had reached the peak of a third. Without the armor's protection, he would have sustained serious injuries by now. After all these years, you still rely on that shell of yours? The Thunder Lord looked at the disheveled Seventh King, shaking his head. Impressive as the Demon Emperor armor is, if I wanted you dead, it wouldn't save you. The Seventh King's face darkened, and he let out a cold snort as his hands formed a seal. Vast demonic energy erupted, twisting his form until he split into a dozen identical figures, each fleeing in a different direction. Every one of these shadows carried the same aura and identical demonic energy fluctuations, revealing them to be genuine bodies rather than mere afterimages. The Thunder Lord watched impassively, and then, in an instant, he vanished. Boom! As he disappeared, thunder resounded in the distance. Lin Dong looked up to see a bolt of lightning flash across the sky, appearing instantaneously before one of the dark figures, which exploded under a single punch. In the next instant, the lightning struck another figure. Bang! 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 Lightning flashed, and the Thunder Lord demonstrated an indescribable speed. The dark figures had barely managed to escape before each was obliterated one by one. Finally, one last shadow was hit, but instead of disintegrating into demonic energy, it was thrown backward, spewing black blood. Clearly, the true body had been struck. Trying to flee in front of me? Have you grown foolish? The Thunder Lord looked coldly at the battered Seventh King, his thunderous eyes filled with an icy killing intent. Since you won't talk, you're useless. Best to kill you and rid this world of filth. The Thunder Lord clenched his fist, summoning endless lightning above him, forming a massive, 1,000-foot-wide thunder seal that radiated an overwhelming, destructive force. Boom! The thunder seal took shape and, without hesitation, descended upon the Seventh King with crushing force, shattering the ground into a deep abyss. The Seventh King's eyes shifted as he stared at the oncoming attack, demonic energy surging as he braced against the thunder seal. Yet, under its oppressive power, his defenses grew weaker. As the thunder seal drew closer, the Seventh King's eyes flickered with a desperate gleam. Then, just as it was about to strike, a 1,000-foot rift split open behind him, and a massive demonic hand extended from it, catching the thunder seal and swatting it aside. The sudden turn of events startled Lin Dong and the others. Their gaze fell on the immense hand, where a shadowy figure stood with hands behind his back. Ha! Thunder Lord! After all these years, must you still be so ruthless? The figure on the demonic hand smiled at the Thunder Lord. Fifth King. The Thunder Lord's eyes flickered slightly as he recognized the newcomer. Finally, a challenge worth my time. Thunder Lord, I know you're powerful, the Fifth King said, but if I intend to take someone away, you won't stop me. No need for needless effort. Rest assured, the day will come when the demon prison faces off with the ancient lords once again. The shadow glanced in Lin Dong's direction. So, you're Lin Dong? Quite impressive. Who would have thought you'd push old Seven this far? But this time, consider yourself lucky. With that, he waved his sleeve, enveloping the Seventh King in demonic energy, and the space behind them split once more. Humph! The Thunder Lord let out a cold snort, unleashing a punch that sent thunderous energy surging forth, forming a massive, 1,000-foot thunder lion charging toward the fifth king. Heh, as unwelcoming as ever. But now's not the time for a fight, Thunder Lord. The fifth king waved his sleeve, and a massive demon lotus bloomed, blocking Thunder Lion's advance. Then, his figure receded into a rift in space, dispersing the demonic aura until he completely vanished from this world. Thunder Lord gazed at the place where the fifth king had disappeared. With a flick of his finger, a faint spark of lightning pierced through space, disappearing without a sound. Having done this, he turned, fixing his gaze on Lin Dong. After a moment of silence, he finally spoke. You must be the Lin Dong that Flame Lord mentioned? The one in this generation who wields the Thunder Ancestral Talisman? Lin Dong was slightly startled by Thunder Lord's words. It wasn't surprising that he sensed the Thunder Ancestral Talisman within him, but from his tone, it seemed he'd already heard of him in his conversations with Flame Lord. Although Lin Dong didn't know what Flame Lord had said, he nodded and bowed to Thunder Lord. Thank you for your assistance today, Thunder Lord. While Lin Dong and his companions could have held their own against the seventh king, it would have required a high price. Thunder Lord's intervention was indeed worth his gratitude. Slaying alien demons is my duty and responsibility. I've been tracking them for so long, and it was only because of you that I gained a lead today. So, you needn't thank me, Thunder Lord replied, his voice booming like thunder. He studied Lin Dong with an appraising look, eventually nodding slightly. I hadn't expected someone of your strength to breach the Demon Emperor armor of the seventh king. It seems Flame Lord was right. You're not ordinary. His voice held a rare hint of astonishment. Having confronted these high-ranking alien demons countless times, he was well aware of the strength of the Demon Emperor armor, which allowed the seventh king to resist him for so long. Yet here was Lin Dong, able to break through that armor with his own power, a feat that even Thunder Lord found somewhat surprising. Lin Dong simply smiled. That attack was his strongest, drawing on the power of both his ancestral talismans and a mysterious force he sensed from beyond. Even so, it was only enough to wound the seventh king, not to kill him. Thunder Lord looked at Lin Dong, hesitated, and finally asked, May I see the Thunder Ancestral Talisman? His tone was uncharacteristically softened. The Thunder Ancestral Talisman was a divine artifact of heaven and earth, and he had been its first wielder. However, he understood that such artifacts chose their own masters. While he had lost his bond with it during his long slumber, it now belonged to Lin Dong, beyond even his own claim to reclaim it. Lin Dong smiled at Thunder Lord's request and nodded, extending his hand. Sparks of lightning gathered in his palm, and an ancient thunder talisman slowly emerged. As soon as the Thunder Ancestral Talisman appeared, it emitted a soft glow and floated toward Thunder Lord, who reached out with a nostalgic smile, brushing his large hand across it. Long time no see, old friend. A soft humming sound came from the talisman as arcs of lightning entwined Thunder Lord's hand. The Thunder Ancestral Talisman had its own spirit and still held affection for its first master. After a long moment, Thunder Lord handed it back to Lin Dong. You are now the guardian of the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. You should understand the responsibilities that come with this role. I hope you honor its name. Lin Dong took the Thunder Ancestral Talisman back, watching the lightning flicker in his hand. He looked at Thunder Lord and asked, Don't you wish to take the Thunder Ancestral Talisman back? Without it, the title of Thunder Lord feels a bit lacking, doesn't it? Thunder Lord shook his head. The ancient 8 lords are indeed closely connected with the 8 ancestral talismans, but in a way, we are more like comrades. They have the freedom to choose their masters. If the Thunder Ancestral Talisman were without a master, I would naturally reclaim it. But since it has chosen a new master, that must be the best choice. An ancestral talisman's choice is never wrong. With a faintly proud smile, Thunder Lord continued, And don't underestimate us. True, the talismans enhance our strength, but even without them, we remain formidable. After all, in our long years together, we've already absorbed their powers. Don't understand? A mysterious look slowly surfaced on the Thunder Lord's face. Then, he raised his palm, closing it as bolts of lightning flickered in his grasp. Within that lightning was a power Lin Dong knew well, the power of the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. Though we no longer possess the Ancestral Talismans, we have become something akin to human forms of these talismans. So, even without the talismans, we still retain that power. Though, for certain extreme techniques, we still need to rely on the Ancestral Talismans to fully manifest them. A look of astonishment appeared on Lin Dong's face. No wonder the Flame Lord, Thunder Lord, and these ancient lords showed little attachment to the Ancestral Talismans after awakening. The power of the talismans had already taken root within them. However, only by mastering an Ancestral Talisman to the utmost can one still wield its power after separation. Although many exceptional users have wielded the talisman since, reaching this level remains exceedingly rare. The Thunder Lord looked at Lin Dong and said, "Perhaps you could reach this level someday. And with 2 ancestral talismans within you, who knows what changes might occur when those powers assimilate." Lin Dong nodded silently. His control over the talismans had reached a high level, yet perhaps due to possessing 2 of them, he had yet to attain the peak mastery that the Thunder Lord displayed. As Lin Dong absorbed the Thunder Ancestral Talisman, the Thunder Lord hesitated briefly and then spoke. "Regarding the matter of the Ice Lord, the Flame Lord has informed me." Lin Dong was taken aback. Naturally, the other awakened figures are aware of it as well. Lin Dong's mouth twitched slightly, and he glanced sideways at Huan, who quietly gazed into the distant mountains, seemingly indifferent to their conversation. "We were all somewhat taken aback by the turn of events. We never thought that our little junior sister, with her usually impassive nature, would ever harbor romantic feelings for anyone." The Thunder Lord's expression became somewhat strange. He had been similarly dumbfounded when he first heard this from the Flame Lord, finding it difficult to picture his eternally cold-hearted little junior sister showing such emotions. "She's not herself." Lin Dong sighed. The Thunder Lord smiled faintly, casting a meaningful look at Lin Dong. "Perhaps. Regardless, since she has expressed her will, we won't dwell on it for now. But know this, she will eventually have to return, because the world still needs her." Lin Dong took a deep breath and nodded slowly. "I understand. I will find my own way to make things right. Perhaps it sounds laughable to you all, but giving up has never been in my nature." The Thunder Lord, seemingly expecting such a response, said nothing more. "So, what are your plans next?" Lin Dong shifted the topic. "Earlier, I left a lightning mark on the 7th king, which lets me sense their approximate location. I need to investigate. Those beings lurking for so many years make me uneasy," the Thunder Lord replied thoughtfully. "Going alone?" Lin Dong was stunned. Though the Thunder Lord's strength was formidable, the demon prison was no easy opponent. For instance, the 5th king had shown strength on par with a reincarnation powerhouse who had endured 3 reincarnation tribulations. And above him, there were likely 4 others of similar strength. Going up against them alone would be reckless. The strongest of the demon prison suffered severe injuries back then. They're likely still recuperating. So, in a direct confrontation, they'd think twice before striking. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed hidden for so long, the Thunder Lord replied. After a moment, he added with a faint smile, "Even if danger arises, I can escape. Not even the Heavenly King could stop me." His words held a trace of pride. As the Thunder Lord, his speed was unmatched among the 8 ancient lords. Capturing him would not be an easy feat. "Heavenly King?" Lin Dong repeated, recalling the title mentioned by the 7th king earlier. "He's likely the leader of the demon prison, a tough adversary and the strongest under the alien demon emperor. I once fought him and couldn't prevail." At the mention of this name, the Thunder Lord's gaze grew somber. "However, my little junior sister dealt him a severe wound back then. He likely has yet to recover fully. If he does reappear, only she would be able to face him." As he spoke, he glanced at Lin Dong, his meaning clear. Once the Heavenly King appears, the Ice Lord will likely follow. This might be the last opportunity they're giving Lin Dong. Lin Dong's hand clenched slightly. "I should depart as well. Now that demon prison's attempt on you has failed, they likely won't act recklessly again. Until their most powerful figures fully recover, they'll probably stay quiet, said the Thunder Lord. Lin Dong nodded. Be careful. The Thunder Lord, known for his decisive actions, wasted no time. After saying his piece, he gave a sweeping gesture toward Lin Dong and the others. Lightning radiated brilliantly around him, and with a crackling thunderclap, his figure vanished. Lin Dong watched the spot where the Thunder Lord had disappeared, letting out a soft sigh. The world was growing increasingly chaotic. Those lurking alien demons, who knew when they would erupt in full force? When that moment arrived, it was clear that the second great war of heaven and earth would once again unfold. After the seventh king's surprise attack, the defenses of the Dark City became significantly tighter. However, Lin Dong and his companions understood that such precautions were of little use against opponents of the seventh king's caliber. Ultimately, they could only rely on their own strength. Fortunately, the seventh king's assault had been thwarted, forcing them to retreat with severe injuries. According to the Thunder Lord, Demon Prison was unlikely to make any bold moves soon. Despite its fearsome reputation, the current delicate balance in the world discouraged rash actions without solid preparation. Lin Dong and his group stayed in Dark City for a while longer. Tian had successfully stabilized the Dark Hall's inner workings. By now, the Dark Hall was firmly under her control, with no dissent remaining. It was finally time to bring the young girl back to the Eastern Mystery region. In the Dark City's plaza, a spatial formation slowly twisted in the sky, emanating waves of violent spatial energy. Hall Master, the spatial teleportation array is ready. You may activate it at any time, a black-robed elder respectfully reported to a young girl in a dark dress. Tian nodded slightly. Elder Chung, during my temporary absence, you will manage the Dark Hall. If any major issues arise, crush the communication talisman I gave you. I will return immediately. Yes, the elder replied solemnly. After issuing her instructions, Tian gracefully ascended a nearby platform. Her previously stern expression softened into a sweet smile as she clung to Lin Dong's arm. Brother Lin Dong, we're ready to leave. Lin Dong smiled and nodded, turning to Ling Qingzhu. Let's go. With a wave of his sleeve, the three of them stepped into the spatial formation. Below, countless Dark Hall warriors knelt in reverence. Farewell, Hall Master. Their unified, respectful voices echoed. Tian gave a slight nod before activating the formation. Violent spatial fluctuations surged, and dazzling silver light enveloped the trio. With a hum, the radiant light exploded outward. When the onlookers opened their eyes again, the three figures had vanished, leaving the sky slightly distorted. 3 days later, Lin Dong and his companions emerged from the twisted space into the Eastern Mystery region. This journey had been several times faster than their previous one. Thanks to the spatial imprint left behind, future travel would be much simpler, avoiding the arduous trek through countless mountains. Stepping out from the distorted space, Lin Dong scanned the surroundings before his gaze fell to the north. A flicker of emotion crossed his eyes. What's over there? Ling Qingzhu followed his gaze, then looked at Lin Dong, her voice soft. That's the direction of the Alien Demon region. The Alien Demon region? The name stirred deep memories in Lin Dong. It was there that he and his brothers had once fled in disgrace, pursued relentlessly by Yuan Gate. Since we're here, we should visit the Alien Demon region again, Lin Dong said. He still remembered Senior Fan Tian, who had aided him in the past. Though Fan Tian's physical body had perished while suppressing an alien demon general, Lin Dong could never forget his debt of gratitude. Back then, that alien demon general had seemed invincible. Ling Qingzhu and Tian naturally had no objections to his decision. They both nodded slightly, and upon seeing this, Lin Dong did not hesitate. With a wave of his hand, the three of them transformed into streaks of light and soared across the sky. In just a few minutes, they had covered thousands of miles. A massive city appeared within Lin Dong's field of vision. As he gazed at the somewhat familiar city, a sense of nostalgia filled his eyes. It was here that, many years ago, the three brothers had fought fiercely with the Yuan Gate, though the outcome was not a favorable one. Lin Dong stared at Alien Demon City, and after a long while, he finally moved again. In the next instant, They had arrived outside the alien demon region. The space in front of them rippled slightly, and an ancient formation, faintly visible, appeared. This was a formation passed down from ancient times, one that sealed the demonic energy within the alien demon region. Back then, when Lin Dong and the others wanted to enter, they had to wait for the seal to weaken. But now, it was clear that they no longer needed to go through such a cumbersome process. With a flick of his sleeve, the space was violently torn apart, and the three of them swiftly entered. As they entered the alien demon region, many strong warriors, who had been waiting for the region to open for their adventures, looked on in stunned silence at the terrifying display of power. Lin Dong naturally paid no attention to these small distractions. After entering the alien demon region, he scanned the area. It had been years, but the faint demonic energy still lingered in the air. Everywhere he looked, there was a sense of ancient desolation. Huge ravines on the ground revealed the traces of the earth-shattering battles that had once taken place here. The three of them did not linger. They headed deeper into the alien demon region. With their current strength, this forbidden land of the Eastern Mystery region no longer posed any obstacles. In just a few minutes, they had reached the heart of the region. Using the memory from 3 years ago, Lin Dong gradually slowed down and looked ahead. There, a massive crimson lava volcano stood tall. Within the volcano's hull, a figure, resembling a statue, could be seen faintly. Lin Dong slowly floated closer. The figure, like a sculpture, was covered in dust, and there was an energy fluctuation emanating from the lava volcano, making it impossible to approach. However, such fluctuations had no effect on Lin Dong. Senior, Lin Dong bowed slightly to the figure. Although his current strength had likely surpassed that of Senior Tian, the latter had, in his dying moments, condensed all his remaining vitality into a pill and given it to Lin Dong. This kindness was something Lin Dong had always remembered. This senior has already passed away. Could there still be a chance of saving him? Tian, with her clear eyes, gazed at the dust-covered figure and asked softly. She had been present during the events that took place here and naturally understood that Lin Dong had benefited greatly from this senior. His situation is a bit special. He isn't fully dead. In order to suppress the alien demon general, he turned himself into a living corpse to seek immortality, hoping to forever seal that alien demon general. So, in some ways, Senior Tian has not completely passed away. Lin Dong shook his head slightly. When he had left back then, he had asked Senior Tian, and the latter had said that if Lin Dong wanted to save him, he would have to first understand reincarnation. Although Lin Dong had not yet fully entered the reincarnation stage, he had touched upon it, and his spiritual energy had reached the level of the great Talisman sect. Even ordinary reincarnation stage powerhouses were no match for him. This senior turned himself into a living corpse, but now his corpse energy is overwhelming, and his vitality has completely faded, which is why he has passed away. If we can replenish his vitality, he should be able to awaken, Tian said, glancing at the figure and thinking for a moment before speaking. Lin Dong nodded in agreement. He then smiled at the figure and said, Senior Tian, back then, you gave me all your remaining vitality. Today, I will repay this kindness to you. As soon as his voice fell, he extended his hand. Immediately, a surge of primordial energy swept out. Within that energy, the forces of life and death merged perfectly. As Lin Dong's mind moved, a thick white glow was extracted from the energy. Inside the white glow, pure vitality radiated. The vitality spread out, and Lin Dong flicked his finger. The vast vitality transformed into a huge vortex. At the center of the vortex was Senior Tian's figure, sitting in death-like stillness. The vitality spread and continuously surged into the figure's body. The deathly aura within Senior Tian was extremely thick, making it challenging for even a reincarnation powerhouse to balance life and death within him. However, Lin Dong had grown significantly stronger, his primordial energy vast like an ocean, and he was aided by spiritual energy. After half a day, Senior Tian's skin, dry like old bark, began to soften, and a faint sign of life seeped through. As Lin Dong infused primordial energy, A part of the reincarnation insights inherited from the devouring lord blended with the life force, transforming it into a milky white pill that entered Senior Tian's body through his crown. Senior Tian was already at the brink of reincarnation, a step away from the reincarnation stage. Years ago, he failed to break through. Now, with the reincarnation insights from the devouring lord, he might still have a chance to attempt it again. When the white pill entered his body, Senior Tian, once almost lifeless, suddenly shuddered. Color returned to his aged face, and his eyes slowly opened. He blinked in bewilderment, then saw a smiling young face before him. Senior Tian, slowly opening his eyes, gazed at the young man in front of him. That face seemed vaguely familiar, but he couldn't fully clear his mind. Though he had turned himself into a living dead to endure the ages, there were differences compared to normal people. "You," he said in confusion. "Senior Tian, I am Lindong. We met briefly 3 years ago," Lindong replied with a slight smile. He then clenched his fist, and a crimson cauldron appeared, the very heaven-burning cauldron that Senior Tian had bestowed upon him years ago. This treasure had helped Lindong overcome numerous difficulties, even saving his life. "Is this the heaven-burning cauldron?" Senior Tian stared at the cauldron in a daze, his confused eyes clearing a bit as he took it, scrutinizing Lindong. After a moment, recognition appeared on his face, and he exclaimed in shock, You're that young lad?" Time had little meaning to Senior Tian in his hazy consciousness. He remembered meeting Lindong many years ago, and giving him the heaven-burning cauldron. He hadn't expected that, upon emerging from the void, the frail young man from back then had become tremendously powerful. He could clearly sense the aura of oppression emanating from Lindong, which stilled the life and death energies within him slightly. Lindong nodded gently and said, "Back then, Senior told me that to save you, I must understand reincarnation and return. Though I'm not there yet, I believe I have the power to awaken you now." Senior Tian was stunned, looking at Lindong with a complex expression. Years ago, he had given Lindong his remaining life force, thinking he was facing inevitable death, a spontaneous act before the end. Little did he know that the small goodwill would bring such a great return years later. "Thank you, young friend," Senior Tian sighed deeply, bowing slowly to Lindong. Compared to what he now received, his gift to Lindong back then was insignificant. "Please, Senior, there's no need to be polite. Now that your life and death energies are balanced again, if you can reach reincarnation, you might shed the state of the living dead and regain true life," Lindong said, waving his hand dismissively. "Sigh, to rid myself of this living dead state is no simple feat in this state. There's no way to sense reincarnation," Senior Tian lamented. "That may not be true, Senior. Sense inside yourself," Lindong said with a knowing smile. Senior Tian, hearing this, was momentarily stunned. He followed Lindong's suggestion and sensed within himself, and was soon taken aback. Shock turned to joy on his withered face. Is this reincarnation insight? I inherited these reincarnation insights from a senior, and today I bestow them upon you," Senior Tian, Lindong explained with a smile. Senior Tian trembled with excitement, tears flowing freely. He had thought he would spend his remaining days in a state worse than death. Unexpectedly, not only had he been awakened, but his body now held reincarnation insights. Lindong watched the deeply moved Senior Tian with a gentle smile. Although the opportunity given to him by the elder on that day now seemed of little consequence, he had always held great respect for the elder's noble sacrifice, transforming himself into a living dead to keep the alien demon suppressed. Now that he could offer some help in return, his heart was genuinely glad. "Young friend, your immense kindness and generosity will never be forgotten. If there's anything I can do to repay you, I would give my life without hesitation." Overwhelmed with emotion, Senior Tian bowed deeply to Lindong, who quickly stopped him. "Senior, you're far too polite," Lindong replied with a smile and a shake of his head. Just as he was about to speak further, his expression changed. He sensed a subtle tremor in the volcanic mountain beneath them, and from its depths, a dense surge of demonic energy began to seep out. "Not good." The alien demon general that I sealed is awakening, exclaimed Tian, his face pale with alarm. His body had been left here to keep that demon at bay. But now, with his own reawakening, it seemed that the demon had revived as well. Boom. As soon as his words fell, the demonic energy at the base of the volcano intensified. In mere moments, it surged up along the lava-infused mountain, and within just a few breaths, the entire volcano was consumed and reduced to ashes by that dark energy. With the mountain gone, a terrifyingly powerful demonic aura burst into the sky. From within this dark cloud emerged a demonic figure, howling skyward. Its power was now exponentially stronger than it had been in the past. Senior Tian felt the overwhelming might of the demonic energy, and his face shifted in shock. Impossible. Has the alien demon general evolved? Lin Dong's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise as he too sensed the tremendous increase in strength. The demon had indeed ascended to the level of an alien demon king. Even after being sealed, this creature had somehow stored up enough energy to break through, and successfully so. Lin Dong, you need to leave now, Tian urged. The alien demon general has evolved to the rank of a king and now holds power equivalent to that of a reincarnation powerhouse. I can no longer suppress him. Tian, did you think I would be reduced to ashes under your seal? I found a way to break through within that desperate state. Now, I have ascended to the rank of a king. How do you plan to oppose me? The demonic figure hovered mid-air, eyes cold as he fixed them on Tian, his voice dripping with malevolence. Tian gritted his teeth, ready to fight with his life to stop this alien demon king. But Lin Dong gently raised his hand to hold him back. With a calm smile, Lin Dong looked up at the creature. I've faced off against the 7 kings of demon prison themselves. Do you think a newly evolved alien demon dares to boast before me? How laughable. The alien demon king's arrogant laughter froze. He glared at Lin Dong in disbelief, then sneered. What nonsense are you spouting? The 7 kings are mighty beings who could contend with the ancient lords. You're no more than an ant to them. Lin Dong merely smiled, choosing not to argue. Yet, a cold gleam surfaced in his eyes. Suddenly, thunder rumbled throughout the sky as dark clouds gathered above. Bolts of lightning danced violently within, spreading an aura of devastating energy. The alien demon king noticed the drastic change, his gaze wary. A deep unease crept into his heart. This isn't right. Sensing the danger, he abruptly attempted to retreat. Senior Tian, who had been ready to engage, paused in surprise, but Lin Dong calmly closed his hand into a fist. The space around the alien demon king twisted violently as 4 enormous black vortexes appeared, trapping the demon within. Their intense gravitational force tugged at him, forcing him to summon all his dark energy and resistance. Boom! Above, countless bolts of lightning converged, forming a thunder dragon that spanned thousands of feet. With a deafening roar, it plunged directly into the black vortex prison that trapped the alien demon king, who stared in horror as it bore down on him. Bang! A blinding sphere of lightning exploded in the sky, unleashing a wave of powerful thunderous energy that cleared away much of the demonic miasma hanging over the alien demon region. A shrill scream echoed from within the sphere of lightning. Senior Tian could only watch in stunned silence as the once arrogant, newly crowned alien demon king disintegrated with shocking speed, vanishing from the world in mere moments. Senior Tian's eyes were filled with shock. He had encountered these alien demons numerous times, and knew all too well the tenacity of their life force. Even for a reincarnation powerhouse, killing an alien demon king outright was nearly impossible. Typically, the only way to deal with one was through sealing techniques. Yet here, Lin Dong had effortlessly obliterated an alien demon king with a simple move. Such power was truly terrifying. Lin Dong brushed his palms lightly as the thunderclouds above faded, his gaze remaining calm and unaffected. With his current strength, an ordinary alien demon king was no match for him, especially this one, who had only barely reached the king level. The audacity it took to act arrogantly before him. Clearly, it didn't understand the meaning of death. Lin Dong, Your skills are truly awe-inspiring. I lost my composure earlier, Senior Tian said, regaining his composure and looking directly at Lin Dong with admiration. He now understood just how formidable the young man, once indebted to his kindness, had become. Lin Dong smiled slightly, his eyes lingering on the fading figure of the alien demon king before shifting to the ground below, his brow furrowing involuntarily. Typically, if a creature were sealed, it would weaken over time, certainly not advance in rank. Why had this one seemed so unusual? The gap between general and king level was monumental, with an arduous path to advance. Reaching the king level was exceedingly difficult. After a brief moment of reflection, Lin Dong could make no sense of it and shook his head. Perhaps this creature just had unusually good luck. Senior Tian, now that the alien demon has been dealt with, what are your plans? Lin Dong asked, turning his gaze to Tian. My life is a gift from you, young friend. Now that the creature is gone, if you don't mind, I would be honored to stay by your side, Tian replied with a smile. As an ancient being, he now found himself without acquaintances or a place to settle. I'm heading back to my clan. If you have nowhere else to go, Senior Tian, perhaps you'd consider becoming an honorary elder within our family, Lin Dong replied with a smile. Tian was incredibly powerful, and his presence in the Lin family could help safeguard his loved ones. With nowhere else to go, Tian gladly agreed, nodding with a smile. Seeing this, Lin Dong didn't linger further. With a wave of his hand, he moved to leave the alien demon region. However, as he was about to cross its borders, he couldn't help but glance back at the land. For reasons he couldn't quite explain, a faint feeling of unease stirred deep within him, barely perceptible and fleeting.